Okay, so in the last video, we got up to the second part of question 5, looking at textual features. And if you recall from the section where we deal with textual features, these would be anywhere where the text has sort of been modified. So bold text, for example, use of all capitals might be one, use of punctuation, like exclamation marks, and also things like emojis could be one. So we know that we need to identify two textual features and explain how they help the reader understand the meaning of the text. So, let's have a quick look at document 3. And we'll see what we can find. So, you might want to pause the video now and see what you can jot down. So remember, we're looking for two textual features in this document, and we are looking for what they add to the document, how they help the reader understand the text. Okay, so immediately we have got two emojis here. We have got bold text here for people's names, and we've got use of exclamation marks. Now, thinking about why those particular things might have been used, well, the emojis, the reason why we use emojis is to quickly get across how we're feeling. So, for example, this emoji up here of someone crossing their fingers is a symbol of good luck, which sort of emphasizes what Alex here is thinking about, well, the new cinema, really. He's crossing his fingers for it and he's got an emoji there. The emoji lets us know what the person is feeling. We've got bold text. Now, bold text here has been used in the introductory bit, and it's been used for people's names. So bold text here has been used for important words. So it's important when you're going through a forum to see who has said what. If you want to refer back to someone who's already posted, you want to be able to quickly find their name. So the textual feature of bold text here has been used to highlight important words, in this case people's names. And we've also got exclamation marks used throughout. And that, again, can be used to sort of highlight emotional impact. Okay, so for example, this bit here where it says, the town is dead and the new cinema won't make any difference. If that didn't have an exclamation mark and you read it in your head, it would read something along the lines of, the town is dead and the new cinema won't make any difference. It's not particularly emotive. However, with the exclamation mark, that changes. It then becomes something like, the town is dead and a new cinema won't make any difference. It sort of highlights the emotion behind that statement. So there we go. That's the question on textual features. So now we're going to look at the next question. Okay. The question 6 deals with organisational features. You may have heard these referred to as layout features before, and we're looking for them in document 2. So we know that we need to find two organisational features, because don't forget we always check out the marks available for the question, and we need to explain the effect of one of these features. So this question's worth 3 marks, which is quite a few. So let's find document 2, see whether we can find a couple of organisational features, and see what we make of them, why they've been used, what's the effect. There we go. Okay, so if you pause the video now, find 2, maybe even 3 organisational features and think about why they've been used. Okay, so immediately, the first one that we really see when we're reading this is the headline. And the headline here is in bold, it's separated out. So that's an organisational or layout feature. Now, what does the headline do? What does it add? Well, the headline or title lets us know what the article or the review will be about, in this case, the cinema complex. So its job is to let the reader know what the rest of the text is going to be about. Now, something else you might have noticed is this is written in columns. Now, the reason why newspaper articles are written in columns, the reason why we read down through this column and then up again and start in this column, is it makes it easier to read because you've got less words on a line. So writing in columns makes the text easier to follow and easier to read. You've also here got a graph. So the graph here illustrates an important point in the text. It gives a visual guide to the text. It presents statistics in a visual way, so it's easy to understand. Now, another thing you might have noticed is the sheer amount of white space in this document. There's a lot of lines here that are sort of blank. You know, you've got it drops a line between paragraphs here, and that is actually a valid organizational layout feature in this case, in this article. And the reason why it exists is to stop the page getting too cluttered. So there you go. We've got 4 organizational layout features there and explanations as to why they're used. So hopefully you got at least a few of those. On to the next question. So question 7 has given us 2 extracts, and this question is on bias. And you're going to get at least 1 question on bias in the text. We know that much. So what you need to do is you need to think about which of these is the least biased. Now, if you remember from the section on bias, bias is where you are presenting one side of something, one thing over the other. So from document 1, that is why we offer an unparalleled cinematic experience which will entice you back to our venues again and again. And document 2 says, true, the Alpha Screens complex really does offer something new, but will it be enough to convince more people to pay to come to the cinema? So, which of these texts, which of these extracts contains the least amount of bias? Pause the video and have a go. Okay, so the answer is document 2. Document 2 contains less bias than document 1. Now, it's not as straightforward as that because you then need to give a reason for your choice. And there are many reasons you could put down and get a mark for here. Have a think about why document 2 is less bias. And you could refer to either document 1 or document 2 in this. Pause the video and see what you can come up with. Okay, so there are several reasons. Firstly, document 1 is written very persuasively and contains a lot of persuasive text. Document 2 gives you both sides of things, so it's saying that the new complex is very good, but it's also saying it might not be enough to convince more people to pay to come to see the cinema. So it's sort of giving both sides of the story there. So there are several reasons why you could say that document 2 is least biased here. So moving on to part C of this question. And this is about informal vocabulary. So what you need to do here is you need to find an example of informal vocabulary used in document 3 and explain why you think it has been used. So, again, this is 2 parts of this question. You get 2 marks for this part of the question. So we'll have a look at document 3 and have a think about informal vocabulary. Pause the video now, see if you can find some examples of informal vocabulary and think about why they've been used. Okay, so I've highlighted some of the more obvious examples here, so things like lol, bliss, and wouldn't want to fork out that sort of cash for one night out, and reckon this place will be gone in a year, and don't waste yours on visiting this dump. Now, so we've identified some use of informal vocabulary here, and hopefully you picked out some of those as well. Now we need to think about why people have used informal vocabulary here, and this is quite an open question. As long as it's a reasonable answer, you'll get a mark for it. So you could, for instance, say that we often use informal vocabulary and slang to quickly get across ideas and how we're feeling. Like lol bliss is a lot quicker to type than, say, for example, I really enjoy my new 55-inch 4K TV and it's incredibly relaxing and enjoyable to watch. You can get across that just by literally typing out lol bliss. Another reason could be that people are using informal vocabulary here because it's an informal situation. It's a forum where people talk about stuff and share their opinions with other people. It's not particularly, it's not needed, you know. The tone of the overall forum is informal, so people are using informal language because it fits in with the tone. It's an informal discussion place. There we go. And like I said, as long as you can justify what you're saying here, and as long as it's a good reason, you'll get a mark. Okay, so question A is a compare and contrast question split into 2 different parts. The first one here is just looking at the information and ideas, and the second part looks at how that information and ideas is gotten across, how it's conveyed. So we'll look at the first part first. So we're comparing the information ideas in document 2 with the information ideas put forward by members in document 3. And this is quite interesting. So if we go back to document 2, the main ideas we get from this really is that people aren't going to the cinema as much as anymore, that this new alpha screens complex is actually really nice, it's really good, and that even though it's really nice, it might not actually survive. So what we want to do is we want to cross-reference that and see what information ideas we can find in this document 3. So if you want to pause the video and have a go at that now. Okay, so the key ideas from document 2, that it's a really pleasant experience. I mean, we can sort of contrast that we can sort of compare that with Mia's experience, can't we? She says, other than that, yeah, it's great, comfortable, friendly entertainment. Well, that compares quite nicely with what the review was saying about how lovely the surroundings are. We can compare, though, as well, the bit where she's worried that actually this isn't going to last very long and it might not be enough to save the cinema in document 2 with Jamal's part here, where he says, I haven't been to the cinema in 5 years. Why do I need to go out? So again, that compares quite nicely as well. So we'll move on to the second part of question 8 now. Okay, so this second part of the question, so talking about how information ideas are conveyed in document 2 and document 3. They're not looking for the information ideas themselves. That was answered in part A here. What they're looking for is how the writers get across their ideas. And they're looking for things like language use, so language features. They're looking at things like tone as well, so what tone people take. So let's have a quick look at these two documents and think about how they get across their ideas. So what sort of language they use and what sort of tone they use. So read through, pause the video and jot down some ideas. Okay, so firstly, Ella Roberts of Newton Gazette, so document 2. She uses facts and statistics to get across her ideas. She uses various adjectives and descriptive language, like dropped dramatically. She uses personal experience, so very impressed with my comfortable seat, and various things like that to get across her ideas. She uses plenty of facts and opinions. She even uses a rhetorical question at the end here. My real question is, will it survive? If we look at document 3, document 3 uses informal language like lol, bliss to get across its ideas. It uses some descriptive stuff, but it also uses phrases like don't waste your time visiting this dump and various other language features have been used here, but to be honest with you, we'll probably talk more about the tone here because it's the main point of contrast. Because in document 1 you've got quite a formal tone which uses plenty of language features, whereas in document 2 people are mostly chatting amongst themselves, they're using quite informal language, and well, there we go. So that would be a direct comparison between how the information ideas has gotten across in document 2 and document 3. And don't forget, we're not looking at the information ideas themselves here. We're just looking at how the writers write, so their tone, their style, and any language that they use. So there we go. That's our walkthrough for level 2 reading paper.